Hi friends, welcome to the analysis of last mock, that is mock 10. This is last but not the least. Civil Services main mock 10 is based on GS paper 4. According to our plan of mock test for the main examination, there were total 10 mocks. 2 mocks were based on GS paper 1, 2 on GS paper 2, and 3 mocks were based on GS paper 3 and GS paper 4. So as you know that this mock is also based on GS paper 4, it means this is all about ethics, integrity and aptitude. When we notice the sectional breakup of this examination or this mock test, we find that there were three questions in all based on ethics and human interface. The marks for these three questions were 30. A single question was based on attitude and aptitude of 25 marks. There were 5 questions. Divided in 2 parts based on fundamental values for civil service. Total marks for this subject was 70. 4 questions on ethical concerns and dilemma, fetching 60 marks all. Probity in governance, single question of 25 marks, and 2 questions on work culture, bringing 40 marks in all. Thus, we find that there were total 14 questions. For them, the maximum marks were 250. One more thing, friends. Mock 10 was exactly based on the GS paper 4 of actual examination of year 2013. In actual GS paper 4 in 2013 were 2 sections, section A and section B. There were 8 questions in section A. They were on the basis of the theory, and there were 6 case studies. In the similar manner and pattern, this mock is divided into two parts. Section A, there are 8 questions, and in section B, there are 6 case studies. So let us start from question number 1 and we'll discuss the mock in short. Okay friends, come to question number 1. Question number 1 reads as, if legal provisions are proved insufficient, then moral values become necessary to provide justice. Analyze. This whole question is based on how a person can take decision following his voice of conscience. The voice of conscience is the main point of this question. If there are not sufficient legal provisions, then what could be the base for the justice? Definitely, voice of conscience is also a part of moral values, or moral values are guiding principle of voice of conscience. Being a civil servant, being a responsible citizen, being a responsible authority, the voice of conscience is very important. But on other hand, it must be noticed that the voice of conscience is based on what ground? Many times you come to know that particular judge, particular party or particular person voted or gave his or her decision. Such incidents have occurred in elections of president, parliamentary affairs, that people or the members or the responsible representative have voted on the basis of their voice of conscience, but that was not based on the ethical and moral values. So the most important thing is that in such condition, the decision of a person must come from the voice of conscience that is the base that is based on the moral and ethical values that we are here to talk about. So it is about question number 1. Rest all is the definition and explanation of the points of this question. Question number 2. Question number 2. Do you agree that civil service is not an end itself, but it is just a mean to fulfill greater social interest? Justify your answer. Nowadays, civil servants are using civil services as an end for them. They have forgotten that it is a mean to achieve the ends. What is the mean? The mean is the way they execute their powers. And what are the ends? The ends is social welfare and the development of the society. When we trace the development or the chronological development or evolution of civil services in India, we find that it was established by the British based on the exploitation. After independence, it got turned towards welfare, then development, and now the coherent and sustainable development. Development for all, Sarvodaya or Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, welfare of all, and the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means whole world is our family, must be the guiding principle for execution of powers or law or administration by civil servants. Because that is the mean. That is the mean for the end of these values. Question 3, part A. Discuss the circumstances when the conscience become the supreme regulator of a civil servant. Justify your answer with examples. You can relate question number 3, question number 1. One more and most important thing, friends, when there are questions in examination which have similar meaning or the sense, just try to avoid the repetition of the ideas or thoughts. Question number, if you have written voice of conscience in question number 1, then try that this answer must differ to question number 1. There must be a difference from question number 1 in question number 3. If you repeat the ideas, you will get the poor marks. So here the question is that what is the circumstances or the situation when the voice of the conscience becomes the supreme regulator for a civil servant? The situation is different from question number 1 here. In question number 1 was the legal provisions were inefficient. Here no talk about legal provisions, just the situation. You have to take grant that there are legal provisions in question, but still you have to trace the circumstances or situation when your conscience becomes the supreme regulator of decision. The most important situation is the values, human values, ethical values, and moral values. Suppose you are in a tunnel, there is no light. You are in dungeon or at dead end, there is no light. Listen to your conscience. The conscience must be based on the ethical and moral values. When you are facing the crisis of decision or the crisis of conscience, use your own conscience. Use your emotional intelligence. Just look the compassion, resilience, empathy towards the section you are responsible. That are the circumstances. Part B. Morality is not a constant value, but its parameters are changed according to situations. Discuss how the situations determine moral values. Definitely, with the change in space and time, values change. Whether these values are the development of the civilization, modernization, urbanization, etc. In fact, values are relative. For example, in many societies, polygamy, whether it is polyandry or polygyny, is acceptable. But in our Indian society, especially according to Hindu Marriage Act or civilized society, monogamy is considered and modest way of lifestyle. So what do you think? Do you think that the people or the community or the tribes who are practicing polyandry or polygamy, they are immoral? No. In their aspect, in their relation, that practice is moral. Take the case of living relationship. For many of us in Indian society who belong to a conservative and traditional background, live in a relationship is not acceptable. That is against the moral values. But in modern society, ultra modern and urbanized society, that is acceptable. So morality is not a constant, though it is guided by some basic principles like values and humanity and welfare, but it is not a constant factor. It can change according to the time and space. Question 4. Given below are three quotations of great moral thinkers or philosophers. For each of these quotations, bring out what it means to you in the present context. Question 1. Question 4, Part A. There is only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance. Socrates. You all know Socrates was punished to drink the cup of poison for his revelation and exploration of the knowledge. But this statement was as relevant as it is nowadays. Knowledge is power. It brings empowerment, and empowerment provides you freedom to take decision. In that way, knowledge is important. Ignorance deteriorates you. Part B. Natmhitam priyam ragyah praja namat priyam hitam. In English, it means in the happiness of his subjects lies the happiness of king. In the welfare of the subjects is the welfare of the king. This quotation is by Kautilya. How king was considered the father of his subjects. How he was oriented towards the welfare of his citizens. That was the ethical values and human values on which the throne of the king was based. The system has been changed, but the value remains. The welfare of a state is vested with the welfare of the people, especially in the democratic system. And that is the basic essence of our constitution when it was declared as a welfare state. Part C. No amount of political freedom will satisfy the hungry masses. Vladimir Putin. There is a saying, I'm just remembering a saying, hungry stomach produces drained brain, and that produces the empty thoughts. It means if you are not getting what you need, no state can rule you. You will be a rebel. That was said by Vladimir Lenin. Political freedom cannot ensure the defiance of your fulfillment or the fulfillment of your needs. No political freedom, in fact, not a kind of freedom can ensure you until and unless it is going to give you what you need. That's the basic point of this question. Question 5, Part A. What is the importance of fidelity in good governance? How can it justify one's acts? Fidelity means loyalty. Loyalty to a person, loyalty to your work, loyalty to your government, your society, your organization. Loyalty means honesty, comes from again moral and ethical values. It makes you confident. It enables you to take rational decisions. So fidelity is part of probity and transparency in governance, which brings responsibility and accountability also. Question 5, Part B. Should the conception of utilitarianism be given top priority by a civil servant? Justify your answer with examples. A civil servant is a public resource. A civil servant is a mean to deliver the ends to the people. Whether the ends are in form of decision, policy implementation, or the distribution and sharing of resources. Utilitarianism is a broad concept. It involves masses and its target is the maximum number of people. So, this concept must be applied in delivery of services, but meanwhile we have to focus on the neglected and marginalized section also. They must not be left out. Question 6. Though confidentiality is an important ethical concept, but it often promotes corruption in governance. Confidentiality is the maintenance of security. In lieu of confidentiality, there are practices of corruption. No doubt it's true. But the classified and confidential information could not be shared. Simultaneously, the practice of corruption must be discouraged, but to maintain the confidentiality and classified information is also very important. Question 7. It is expected that a civil servant will follow an impartial approach while providing public services. What is the meaning of an impartial approach? Why is it important for a civil servant? Here, impartiality means non-biasness, without any prejudice, without any compromised or manipulated decisions, equality for all, equal opportunity for all, equal sharing of benefits among all, within the integral value of constitution. That is the impartial approach. There must not be any discrimination based on caste, creed, sex, religion, etc. until and unless there is special provision for that so. These values are vested in our preamble or the basic ethics of the Constitution. Question 8. Management of emotional crisis is essential to keep balance in public life. How will you handle yourself if you go through an emotional crisis? Emotional crisis followed by emotional breakdown, then nervousness, depression, or some eventual results. Being a civil servant, since this exam is oriented towards civil services, so each and every question is designed to test me or test you as a future civil servant. Being a civil servant, I or you or we have to develop an integrated and strong internal personality. No doubt, we are as public as private entity. We have our own family, society, social norms, relations, interaction, behavior, etc. But still, there must be a difference between you and a common person who easily breaks down or who easily vulnerable or susceptible towards any type of emotional crisis. Stress management. Using emotional intelligence are some grounds on which we can manage the emotional crisis. From question number 9 onwards, there are case studies. To read whole case studies of no use because you have read already. There are long passages. So I'll just give you some points of case study, then discuss the solution. In question number 9, the problem is a booth level officer who is being forced to enroll some illegal migrants as permanent voter of a particular place or region. There is pressure of a political leader also. Booth level officer is an honest person, but he has been threatened to face dire consequences. Now, he comes to me, he comes to you for just decisions. What must be our decisions or advice to him? Definitely, he needs a counseling. Make him realize that how his role is important. How his role is important for a democratic country like India. And if he enrolls the illegal migrants, not only they will vote in that particular election or the forthcoming election according to their vested interest. Apart from it, the illegal migrants will be permanent citizens type community in India, and they will demand further rights like sharing of property, LPG connection, ration card, etc., banking facilities. So providing them voter ID card is just not a step. There are future problems also. Ask him to neglect and avoid the threatening calls by that local political leader. If he insists, then lodge an FIR against him and inform the election commission also. Election commission at such occasions will take harsh action against such people because it is the violation of the code of conduct. Case study is based on, you can compare this situation with famous case of a SDM based in Noida when she took a decision and she was sacked. About illegal sand mining, you are posted as SDM, but here the key issue of this problem is the negligence. Your predecessor officer did not check properly the files and issued the license. You took the charges and take the decision as granted. Now National Green Tribunal is sending a panel to check the defiance. If you accept it that there was a negligence at your part, disciplinary action could be taken against you. You cannot run out of your duties. You cannot show the withdrawal syndrome. There are different situations. I'll just discuss the most apt situation. Option number 3 is the most apt situation, followed by option number 1. Just take some strong and harsh action, legal action against land sharks, warning them and tell them that before the NGT panel arrives, just stop illegal mining. Then option number 1 is also an applicable and apt option. Option 2 and 3, option 2 and 4 are totally negligible. Question 11 about work culture and office values based on emotional intelligence. This case study. One of your subordinate blackmails you. Definitely blackmailing is the issue of this case study. He comes to you for appraisal, for rise in salary. You on yourself, using your personal persuasion to HR, put your effort and his salary was revised. Once his salary was enhanced, he showed lack of interest in the work and his work culture deteriorated. Again he comes and asks for the same. Just simply deny him. Just simply deny. If he puts about his resignation, just let him take his decision. Do not fall prey to his threats or warnings that could send a bad message in the office. Question 12. We all know that there are issues regarding MG-Narega programs. The question is based on that problem. This question signifies that such type of problems will face daily to daily life. You are project director of MG-Narega and there are common issues as we often come to know. Spurious accounts, ghost payments, middlemen, false payment, etc. I'll study all 4 problems in single line or 2 line. Just proper auditing of accounts, re-registration and renewal of the job cards, preparation of database, identification of the beneficiaries, their financial inclusion, etc. All such type of solutions are vested here, and they will provide a combined solution or a solution package for this problem. 13, again about the probability and the decision making question. District head of irrigation department of a drought prone area. You have to handle the situation of the drought. So you know well that you are posted in a drought prone area, that is a natural phenomenon and recurring event. You must be ready for remedies. Maintenance of canal and to maintain and proper irrigation facility is your priority. Consider each and every problem with single hand. Proper maintenance of the canal, timely clearance of silt, plugging the leakages, monitoring the proper irrigation, and penalized the person who are not paying their dues. Establish a task force comprising honest officers and engineers. Apart from it, to check the practice of the illegal bore wells, which are creating a parallel irrigation system and increasing the plight of the people. Your execution of all decisions in such type of problem, here especially it is mentioned that use the empathy and compassion values of you towards the plight of poor people. Poor farmer, why he or she is dying, why he or she is forced to suicide. Do your duties providing him proper assurance of irrigation on time, so he would not be forced to sell or to burn his crop, and he would be able to pay his or her debt on time. That is the use of compassion and empathy. Last question, you are well aware about such type of situation. Recent event was in news in Badaयूं district of Uttar Pradesh. A mishappening occurs, lots of manipulation and compromisation with situation, facts, information are done. All faction or part of society with their vested interest come to front, sensitize using the media, and there is a series of hartal, boycott, demonstration, etc. against the government and the system. What you will do? Just in such cases, first of all, try to stop the ignition or the spark which can make an explosion. For this, you need proper post-mortem of the victim and a proper medical report, so you can just show the real cause of death. You are not sure whether this was a suicide, an honor killing, or a murder, or gang rape followed by a murder. Ask people to keep patience, to be calm down. Address media persons to be responsible and do not sensitize this event. Ask them to honor the privacy of the victim and her family. Simultaneously, use law and to maintain law and order. Just deploy some forces also. Meanwhile, you can arrange a meeting with all community leaders, local leaders, Khap Panchayat leaders, etc. and just request them to keep patience and calm down. Ask them that let us see what the result comes just refer them about some previous incidents or the past incidents, and just enumerating them that such at such events this happened. So this is the handling way of situation. Meanwhile, try to trace the culprits, proper lodging of FIR, proper monitoring and surveillance by the local police officer and local police station also. So this situation involves many fold problems, hence the multi-directional solution at a single time is needed. Because if we are going, or you are going, or the superintendent of that particular area is going to satisfy a particular personal faction, it can arouse the different section. So here a broad approach and multi-directional decision making power is involved. So friends, this was all about career launcher mock test series for main examination. I hope that your preparation is at good level, and you'll do your best in the actual examination. All the best to all of you from Team Career Launcher. Thank you so much.